The official story of Charlie Kirk's assassination is beginning to unravel, and the cracks in the narrative are impossible to ignore. What was once presented as a straightforward case, a lone gunman acting with cold precision, has now descended into a storm of conflicting evidence, hidden footage, and serious doubts about whether justice is truly being served. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the full picture as this story develops. From the very start, the case against 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been surrounded by unease. Authorities painted him as the extremist who single-handedly carried out the assassination. But growing suspicions and inconsistencies suggest that the truth may be far more complicated. One of the earliest red flags came in the form of alleged text messages prosecutors claimed tied Robinson directly to the crime. These messages were framed as confessions, pieces of digital evidence showing intent. Yet independent analysts and family representatives pointed out glaring irregularities. Not only were the messages traced back to secondary sources rather than Robinson's personal accounts, but experts also highlighted discrepancies in formatting and metadata. Some went as far as to claim that the texts were fabricated, perhaps even by federal investigators themselves. That claim is extraordinary, but in a case of this magnitude, the idea of falsified evidence is not something that can be brushed aside. If these messages truly originated elsewhere, then one of the central pillars of the prosecution's case collapses. Another piece of evidence that was pushed to the forefront early on was a blurry photo taken in a stairwell. Officials circulated it as a near-certain image of Robinson fleeing the scene. Yet both Robinson's family and others close to the case immediately rejected that claim. They pointed out that the facial features, build, and gait of the man in the image did not match Robinson. The fact that authorities clung to such an unclear piece of evidence raised alarm about whether investigators were more focused on fitting Robinson into the role of suspect than on pursuing the actual truth. A single photograph should never carry the weight of proof in a case involving a life-or-death sentence, yet here it was being used to sway public opinion. Then came perhaps the most explosive revelation so far: the existence of doorbell camera footage. Sources familiar with the evidence confirmed that the video captured Robinson not alone, but in the company of an unidentified woman shortly after the shooting. The footage allegedly shows Robinson changing his clothes, with the woman assisting him, handing him items, including what appeared to be a bag of clothing. The implications of this are staggering. If true, it directly contradicts the lone gunman narrative that has been pushed from the beginning. It suggests the possibility of an accomplice, or at the very least, that Robinson's movements after the shooting do not fit the simple picture authorities wanted the public to believe. And yet, this footage has never been released by the FBI. Not a frame has been shown, not even an acknowledgement that it exists. Such silence fuels suspicion of a deliberate cover-up. If the footage could strengthen their case, why hide it? And if it weakens their story, what does that say about the integrity of the prosecution? The questions deepen when looking into the individuals connected to this hidden footage. Phil Lyman, a Utah politician who ran for governor, became an unexpected figure in the story. When his relatives were linked through whispers to knowledge of the recordings, his family members promptly deleted their social media accounts. Instagram pages were wiped, Facebook accounts erased, LinkedIn profiles removed. It was a mass digital disappearance that only added more smoke to the fire. Why would those connected to someone with political influence suddenly vanish from online platforms just as questions about concealed evidence began to grow louder? Was this simply coincidence, or was it a calculated effort to erase trails that could have exposed uncomfortable truths? The case is further complicated by contradictions in the official timeline of Robinson's movements. Prosecutors insist he had enough time to position himself, fire the fatal shot, and escape unnoticed. But careful reviews of timestamps, travel distances, and witness accounts suggest otherwise. The gap between where he was allegedly seen and where he should have been according to the official version of events doesn't line up. Add to this eyewitness testimonies describing another figure, dressed in dark clothing, sprinting away from the scene, and the cracks widen even further. These reports, ignored or dismissed by investigators, raise the chilling possibility that Robinson may not have been the shooter at all, or at least, not the only one involved. The physical evidence isn't any stronger. Authorities pointed to DNA recovered on the weapon as proof of Robinson's guilt. But records of the chain of custody tell a troubling story. The rifle passed through multiple hands before being tested. Some transfers went undocumented, and gaps appeared in official logs. Such mishandling opens the door for contamination, planting, or simple error, any of which could cast the results into doubt. In a case where the death penalty is being sought, such sloppiness is more than a mistake. It is an outrage. Compounding the problem is the handwritten confession note, allegedly discovered under Robinson's keyboard. On the surface, it seemed damning, a direct statement of intent to kill Charlie Kirk. But deeper examination revealed that the handwriting was inconsistent, with irregularities suggesting multiple writers or a forged attempt. More suspicious still, the note carried no fingerprints, not even Robinson's. A sheet of paper with no trace of human touch raises more questions than it answers. All of this leaves the public grappling with an unsettling conclusion. The case against Tyler Robinson is not airtight. In fact, it appears dangerously fragile, built on shaky evidence, ignored witnesses, and possibly suppressed footage. Families on both sides are suffering. Kirk's loved ones grieving a devastating loss, while Robinson's family fights against what they see as a manufactured scapegoating. And yet, institutions charged with finding truth and delivering justice appear more concerned with preserving their narrative than uncovering the full reality of what happened that day. The stakes of this case extend far beyond one man's fate. They speak to a broader crisis of trust. When evidence can be hidden, when timelines don't align, when forensic practices are flawed, and when political figures circle the story's edges, the public begins to question everything. Was Robinson truly the assassin, or was he an easy target to frame while the real culprits slipped away? Was Charlie Kirk's death the act of a lone extremist, or part of something much bigger, tied to political and social motives that remain hidden? These are questions no fair trial can afford to ignore. As the story continues to unfold, one truth is already clear: justice cannot exist in the shadows. It demands light, transparency, and accountability. If evidence is being withheld, if mistakes are being buried, and if public trust is being sacrificed for the sake of convenience, then we are not just looking at a flawed case, we are staring at a deeper problem in the very system meant to protect us. The Charlie Kirk case has become more than a single tragedy. It is a test of whether truth can withstand power. This story is not over, and the fight for answers has only just begun. To stay informed and to help bring these truths into the open, subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next.